Hey guys, today we are going to start factoring trinomials. In our last topic lesson, we talked about factoring using the GCF, and so now we're going to learn a new method of factoring trinomials, okay? And so you have this page of notes with you, the front and back that you have, and so this first page, all of these problems are the same, or similar, I should say. And this is, in this first section of notes, all of these problems have plus C at the end, okay? The only thing that's different here is this sign in the middle. On the back page of notes, we have minus C at the end. And so we're going to talk about the two situations and some different tips and tricks for you. Your middle sign is different in each of these as well. So we'll start with when your last term is positive and what you do in those situations. So when your last term is positive, the sign inside the parentheses will be the same as the middle numbers sign. So let's do an example of this. So factoring this trinomial. So we talked in class about how factoring is like opposite of the area model. So if I were to have an area model here, I am trying to figure out what goes on my sides of my area model. I know this square right here is x squared, and I know this square down here is positive 6. I'm trying to figure out what numbers go in my diagonal squares here so that they add to give me 7x, but multiplied to give me 6. Okay, so I need to think of numbers that multiplied to give me 6 that would add to give me 7. So let me think of the factors of 6. Well, I have 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. Okay, and so what this sign rule at the top is saying is that if this sign is positive, your factors are going to match this sign in the middle. Okay, so let me tell you what I mean by that. So both of these signs right here are going to be positive, okay? And so I need to think which two factors of 6 are going to add to give me 7x. Well, 1 and 6 would add to give me 7x. So if I had 1x here and 7x here, 6x here, those would add together as like terms to give me 7x. Okay, so now that I've found my area model, I want to figure out what are my dimensions, what goes on the outside here. And so if I look at this column right here, what do x squared and 6x have in common? What's their GCF? They have an x in common. What do 1x and 6 have in common? Well, those actually don't have anything in common, so they just have a 1 in common. Okay, now let's look across the other way. Let's look horizontally. So if I'm looking here, x squared plus x, those have an x in common. If I look at 6x plus 6, those have a 6 in common. Okay, so now you can clearly see what our binomials that multiplied together would be x plus 6 and x plus 1. Okay? A quick check that you can do for yourself to make sure that you got the right numbers is multiply. I call this the double smile. And so you have your 6x here, your 1x here, those add to give you 7x, which is what you were looking for in the middle. Okay? Okay, let's try number 2. I'm going to set it up as an area model again. And we already know what our top square and our bottom square are going to be. Our top square and bottom square are going to be our first term and our last term. And so that would mean we have x squared here and positive 14 here. And since this sign is positive, these other two squares are going to match the middle sign. And so since the middle sign is positive, these two are going to be positive as well. And so now I need to think, okay, what can I add right here and here to give me positive 9x, but multiplied to give me 14. So I want to think of the factors of 14. I think of 1 and 14, 2 and 7, 3 doesn't go in, 4 doesn't go in, 5 doesn't go in. That's it, just 1 and 14, 2 and 7. So which two factors multiply to 14 and add to 9x? Well, if you look here, 2 and 7 would add to 9x. So I'm going to put 2x in one spot and 7x in the other spot. It doesn't matter which one goes where. Okay? And so then I'm going to look at my columns and see which goes in each spot here. And so I'm looking x squared and 7x have an x in common. And then 2x and 14x have a 2 in common. That's their GCF. Now I'm going to look across. X squared and 2x have an x in common. 7x and 14 have a 7 in common. So think about it, guys. When we would do the area model, we would multiply the edges to get each square. And so you can check your work by working backwards. Okay? And so then you can see that your two sets of parentheses here are x plus 7 and x plus 2. Okay? I'm going to show you another strategy for numbers 3 and 4. In case you like the area model, you can definitely keep doing that. I like using the area model personally, but I want to show you guys another way to do this as well. Okay? Okay, and so you can tell in these two problems, our end goal and our answer for factoring were two sets of parentheses, right? And so that's what we're going to set up here in number 3, and I call this my puzzle. I'm going to set two sets of parentheses. My first spot in my set of parentheses is going to be the factors of my first term. And so x squared can break down only into x and x. So that's what's going to go there. Now I want to figure out my sign. So since my last sign is positive, that means my signs are going to match to my middle sign. So since they match, they're both going to be negative. Now I need to figure out what number goes on the end here. So I need to think of two numbers that multiply to 8 and add up to negative 6. So I'm going to take 8 over here and think of my factors of 8. So I have 1 and 8, 2 and 4, and that's it. And so my signs need to match, so which numbers would add together to give me 6? Well, it would be negative 2 and negative 4. And so here I would put 2 and 4, and you're done. You don't have to worry about an area model. So your answer here would be x minus 2, x minus 4. Let's try number 4 together. So again, I'm setting up my puzzle, my parentheses here, and the first thing that goes in my parentheses are my first term's factors. So x squared breaks down into 1x and 1x. There's no number outside here, so we don't have to worry about that. And so in each spot in the parentheses, I'm putting an x. Now I need to look at my sign. So my last sign is a positive, which means my signs are going to match whatever sign is in the middle. So they're both going to be subtraction. Now is the puzzle, so I have to think what's going to multiply to 16 that adds up to negative 10. And so I'm going to take 16 off to the side. My factors are 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. Excuse me. So now I need to think which two numbers would add up to give me negative 10. Well, negative 2 and negative 8 would. And so 2 and 8 would go in my parentheses. So my final answer would be x minus 2, x minus 8. Try number 5 on your own. See if you can. Pause the video. I'm going to give you a hint. GCF. Pause the video. Did you find the GCF? If you see a number 5, your first thing, whenever you have a number outside here with x squared, you always want to check and see if you can divide something out there, or if there's a GCF there. So here we have a GCF of 2. And so when I take out that GCF, I'm left with x squared minus 8x plus 12. Now I can work with this problem just like I have all of the other ones. So I have my 2 out front, and I'm going to set up my puzzle. So in the first spot goes the factors of my first term, x and x. And now I need to decide, my last sign is positive, and it's going to match the middle sign, so they're both going to be negative, subtraction signs. Now is when I decide, okay, I need to think of 2 numbers that multiply to 12 and add to negative 8. And so I have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, and that's it. So which ones will add up to negative 8? Negative 2 and negative 6. So I'd put 2 and 6 right here, and my final answer would be 2 times x minus 2, x minus 6. Try number 6 on your own, pause the video. Okay guys, so number 6 is similar to number 5, where we first need to take out a GCF. And so the GCF in this problem was 3. So when I take out a 3, I'm left with x squared. Remember, we learned a way that we can divide everything by 3, and we're left with x squared plus 12x plus 20. Okay, and so I'm going to set up my puzzle again. My 2 sets of parentheses. In the first spot goes x, and so this time my signs match, but they match to the middle term, which is positive. And now I'm going to look at my last term, my C, and look at my B term, and think what's going to multiply to 20 that adds to 12. So I have 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5, and that's it. So which ones would add to 12? Positive 2 and positive 10. So I would have 2 and 10 in each spot, and my final answer would be 3 times x plus 2 times x plus 10. Okay guys, for the remaining problems on the front of this worksheet, you are going to complete a Google form that's posted in the link, or posted in the description of this YouTube video. It's also going to be linked in CTLS, and I will post it in on Remind for you as well. But you can complete 7 through 11 on your own, and then check your answers with the Google form. It'll tell you which answers are correct and which answers are wrong, but it won't tell you the correct answer if you got it incorrect. But you can keep trying until you get the correct answer, okay? Let me know if you have any questions on those. So now we're going to look at the back page and do some problems here as well. So this one's a little different because this time the last term is negative. C is negative here. If you look at all of them, I see negative 48, negative 20, negative 21, where on the front page, C was positive in all of these. Positive, positive, positive. So this changes things just a little bit, because when C is what your terms need to multiply to, and so now you're going to need a positive, you're going to have different signs in your parentheses. Okay, so let's do an example of an area model one again, just like we did at the beginning. So if I set up my area model, I know that x squared goes here and negative 48 goes here. So I need to think of my like terms that are going to combine to give me positive 2x. But they have to multiply together to give me negative 48. So I'm going to think of the factors of 48, 1 and 48, 2 and 24, 3 and 16, 4 and 12, 6 and 8, and that is it. Okay, so I need opposite signs to get a positive 2x. This negative at the end, subtraction at the end, tells me that my multiplication, I need one positive and one negative, because a positive times a negative equals a negative. And so if I look at my options and my combinations, positive 8 and negative 2 will add to give me positive 2 and multiply to give me negative 48. So that's what I'm going to put in my parenthesis, or in my area model here, is negative 6x and positive 8x. And so now I'm going to think about what goes on each edge of my square. And also, guys, if you see this pattern, if you have x squared in this first spot, remember we always just put x and x on the side here. What multiplies together to give me x squared? X and x. What do you need to multiply x by to get negative 6x right here? If I'm trying to get negative 6x, x times negative 6 is going to give me negative 6x. And down here, I need to think what times x will give me 8x. Well, positive 8. So my sets of parentheses here would be x minus 6 and x plus 8. It does not matter which order you do it in, it just matters that your signs match. So if you said x plus 8 and x minus 6, this is totally okay too. Both are right. Okay. Let's try 13 together. Okay, we're going to try an area model again, just for those that like that setup. Okay, and so my first term goes in that top left corner box, and my last term goes in that bottom right corner box. Okay, and I'm trying to think what is going to add here to give me positive 8x once I combine them and multiply to give me negative 20. So I'm going to think of my factors of 20. I have 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Which, when I have opposite signs, would give me positive 8x. That would be 2 and 10. Positive 10 and negative 2 would give me positive 8. So I would do positive 10x, negative 2x, and there we go. So now I need to figure out what goes on my edges. So x and x go here, because this square is x squared. And then I can think what multiplies by x to give me 10x. Well, this needs to be plus 10. So that when they multiply in this square, I end up with 10x here. Here, what would multiply with x to give me negative 2x? Well, negative 2. And I could double check to make sure that these two numbers multiply to give me negative 20, and they do. And so my final answer would be x plus 10, x minus 2. Let's try the next two by using the other method that we learned. And so I'm going to set up my puzzle here. I'm going to set up my parentheses. And I'm going to put the factors of the first term in the first box. And so in this last sign tells me my signs have to be opposite. So one has to be positive and one has to be negative. So I'm going to think of my factors of 21. I have 1 and 21, 3 and 7, and that's it. So which ones, if I have opposite signs on them, would give me negative 4? 3 and 7, but I need -7 and +3. So which one goes in each spot? 3 would go here and 7 would go here. So my final answer would be x plus 3, x minus 7. You could check yourself by doing the double smile, and you would get 3x, -7x, and see that when you add those together, you get -4x, which is what we wanted in the middle. Okay? Try number 15 on your own. Pause the video. Okay, now that you're back, we are going to set this puzzle up. Opposite signs. We have 36. We're thinking of our factors of 36. 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 5, 6 and 6, and that's it. So which, when they have opposite signs, would give me -9 as my difference? I'm looking at my combination, and it looks like if I were to have +12 and -3, those would add together to give me, opposite signs. Oops. I would want -12 and +3 because those would add together to give me -9. So I'd have x minus 12 and x plus 3. I can check myself by my double smile. See that I get -9x. So my answer is x plus 3, x minus 12. Okay. Last one together on the notes here, guys. Take a stab on your own. You're going to set up your puzzle. Here we go. X, X, opposite signs. Since our last sign is negative, like we've been doing on this page, I'm looking at my factors of 8. And so I have 1 and 8, 2 and 4. Which ones would give me a difference of 2? +2. Well, if I had +4 and -2, that would give me +2. So x plus 4, x minus 2. I'm going to do my check. 4x, -2x gives me 2x, which is what I wanted. So my final answer is x plus 4, x minus 2. Okay, guys, again, just like the 5 I left on the front of your notes, these bottom 5 are also included in that Google form in the description in this YouTube video. And so go ahead and try these on your own and use that form to check yourself. And you can submit that form as many times as you want until you get all of your answers right. If you have any questions or concerns or problems, feel free to message me. And hope this was helpful, guys. Have a great rest of your day.